All right, welcome everybody to the August JavaScript meetup. We're going to be covering, as we usually do, the problems from last month. So every month we cover some coding challenges, and then we introduce the ones for the next month, and then we go over some topics. So today's topic is bun sh. Bun, I think it's just bun, but when you have a short name like that, you kind of have to add something to search for it. So bun.js, whatever it is. But we'll jump into the coding problems first. So a little bit of housekeeping. I probably won't be here. I won't be here for sure in September. I will be not in this country. So I don't know if that means we're not meeting or if I can get Drew to host again for us, or Peter can host, or one of you guys can host if you want. But it may be okay for us to take a break though, in particular because the coding problems for next month are large. So maybe give a couple extra months to try them out if you guys want to try them out. So previous month's coding challenge. Each month, again, there's an easy, a medium, and a hard. And what I try and do is kind of have this story that we're doing, this continuation of problems. And so right now we're just trying to do a tic-tac-toe board game. And so the easy one is, these are all kind of relative, right? Easy this month may be a little harder than last time or so, but they're relative to each other. The easy one was just print a tic-tac-toe board given an array that's defined by the numbers 1 through 9. And I had some questions last time about why use the numbers 1 through 9, why not use a two-dimensional matrix or something like that. And it's convenient that the digits 1 through 9 fits in that position. And the idea is to actually play the game by letting the user type what position they want to play in, and the numbers 1 through 9 kind of fit pretty well with that. The medium challenge was to write a function that takes a board, an X and O, or an O, and a digit from 1 through 9, and returns a new board with the position of that digit marked with a character if it isn't already marked. And then the hard one was write a function that determines who won the game. If the player has won the game, return X or O depending on who won. If the game is tied, return tie. If the game is incomplete, return undefined. So for the easy one, there's plenty of ways to do this. But I decided to have an empty board, which is using a template literal. We talked about that last week, which preserves white space and all that. And then I have a reduce over the board that we get. And what I'm doing is I'm passing the empty board as the initial argument to a reduce. You guys all familiar with the reduce those? Okay. So essentially it's taking the empty board, and each time I'm replacing the index with the position of the character in that board. And then just logging out the columns, the filled board after that. So plenty of other ways of doing this, but what I kind of like about this approach is you kind of see what it's going to look like, and then you kind of just place the characters into their place. There's ways, of course, you could do your interpolated strings and such. So you could definitely make it more concise than this, but I think there's a little bit more clarity. Medium problem is write a function that takes a board. Oh, actually, I should ask, did anyone actually do these problems, and do you want to share how you did? Okay, that's fine.
I did two of them, but I don't know.
Okay.
So I could share it on the side.
Sure. Yeah, so if you guys ever want to share, you can feel free to put like a GitHub link or just some code, then I can open it up sometime. Did you have an approach that you had for that problem that was a little different?
No, I was pretty much the same. Brand code was pretty much the same. Just when a function I loaded a bit different index, I just made the array of all the possible wedding combinations, right? So like if it's for row, it's 0, 1, 2.
Okay.
And then I was just looking through those positions to check if on the board all of those positions I received.
Got it. Actually, I did something very similar for the winner. We'll take a look at that in a second. For the medium one, write a function that takes a board X or O, digits from 1 through 9, returns a new board. So I have this little helper thing that says whether the position is open, meaning basically this thing is a number. Because if it's a number, then that means that it's not marked. So if it's open, then we place that player, the X or the O, as a move. Otherwise, we take whatever is already there and leave it there. So this makes sure that we don't replace the X, we don't overwrite an X with an O or vice versa. And then you can, of course, mutate your array. You could just do a splice here. I tend to try and do things without mutating things. So that's why I've got this board.slice, which is slicing the first part up until that position, then placing the move in there, and then slicing the rest of it and kind of crunching everything together into one array. So that's what's going on. Any questions about that? Slice just kind of grabs the array and then cuts off a piece, but then it gives you that piece. It doesn't actually mutate the array. So winner, if a player has won the game, return X or O depending on who won. If the game is tied, return tie. So I had something very similar to you. I had this little winner of thing that you give it the positions. You give it 3 positions and you say, hey, do these 3, is it all the same? So I do have this all same bit, right? Which takes, I basically take my first position and say, grab whatever that is, and then say, map over each one of them and check to see if all the other ones are equal to the first one. And then if so, return what that first player was, otherwise return them fine. And then I'm kind of using some hacks in JavaScript, right? Because the, you know about truthiness and falseness, right? Any string, I believe, is truthing, right? So if this returns a X or O, it will short circuit and it'll say, okay, this person's already won. I'm going to give it X or an O. So if any one of these returns X or O, it stops right there. Otherwise, it returns undefined, and then we evaluate the OR condition, right? And then we check all of those. And then the other bit where if the game is tied, we have to check to make sure that like we've made it all the way through, nobody's won, but we also want to make sure the board is full. So basically check to see if we filter out all the X's or O's, and then if there are no other positions left, if the length of that is 0, then we know the board is full. So if the board is full, then we say it's a tie game. Otherwise, we return undefined. So there's plenty of other ways of doing this. I thought of getting fancy with it and saying like, let's group it into rows and then check all the rows, and then let's swap it and do the columns, and then let's check the diagonals and something like that. But it works okay. So those, I'm not super happy about it. I tried to see if I could be more clever with it, but I don't think I couldn't find any. I tried to get really fancy with math and stuff, trying to use bit flags and saying like, if I could mask this and realize that like the sum of the marked ones was greater than the sum of that, you could probably use some like math and magic squares or something to get fancy with it if you wanted to. But cool. Any questions about these? Was it similar to what you had to do for your interview?
Yeah, so for the interview, since it was an N by N board, I couldn't like map out the positions earlier. So for the interview, I just like did a bunch of for loops and iterated through the array to check that like all the positions are the same.
Okay.
So, but yeah, this is like very similar to what I did. Instead of like this recursively calling the function, I just had a 2D array which had all the positions, winning positions, and then I was just like waiting for that array to see if the on the board in that position.
Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I wanted to make it so that it could short circuit, so I didn't have to check everything if I didn't have to. There's only 8 conditions, so if you had to loop over all 8, not a big deal. Theoretically, the ones with the 5 in them, I think, are likely to happen more often. Like you're likely to win if you have the center. I think. I don't know if that's true or not.
I do think that's true.
I think it's true, but I don't know if it's true. So if that's the case, what you may want to do is actually put the ones with 5s closer to the top.
So I think with the center, there's a much more probability of tying, but like if you have one of the corners, then you could do like you just can place another marker at the board and then you could place one at the center in that case.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I tried to go down another path of like, for instance, if you can prove that there are, if the player has the middle position and 3 edges, then they've won, right? If they have the middle position and 3 corners, they've also won. So could you do something fancy with those instead, rather than checking, winning combinations? I'm not sure. Cool. So the next month's problems are the continuation of this. And it's basically finish off the rest of it. So you've got a function that takes an array of 9 characters and returns a comma-separated string of the remaining available positions to play in. If all positions are open, return 0 through 9. So for instance, if you get an array that looks like this, you'll return the string 0-9. If some of these are marked with X's or O's in there, you'll return the ones that are not marked with X's or O's, separated by commas. So let's say it was marked 1, 2, and then 3, 5, and 7 were X's or O's. 1, 2, 5, 6, 8, 9, for instance. The second one is write a function that takes a game state and a position from 1 through 9 and returns a new game state. The game state is defined as the following. You've got your board, and then you've got a status, where the status is one of these things. X play, O play, X replay, O replay, tie game, X wins, O wins. So basically, if the status was X play or X replay, and player O makes a valid move, then you swap it over to X O play, sorry. So basically, you're swapping between whose turn it is. The reason why you need replay is someone might make an invalid move. So you don't want to swap from X play to O play in that case. X replay is just a way of indicating an invalid move was made. I thought of actually like you could have a different flag saying like there was some invalid move made or something like that. But I just decided to have, instead of X play and that extra flag, just an X replay indicates whose turn and that there's an error that happened. And then the last one is basically do the rest of it. Write a function that starts a game of tic-tac-toe on the console. The game should do something like this. You start with an empty board. Player X, make your move 1 through 9. This is kind of where that easy bit comes in. Right? And then they say 5. And then you return a new board that X. Say player O, make your move. Say 1. And you return O there. Player X, make your move 3. And make their move. Player O, make your move 5. That position is already taken. So this is an indicator that they made an invalid move because they tried to go where they couldn't. Player O, make your move. You say 4. Player X, make your move 7. Player X wins. Play again, yes or no. So again, I tried to break it up into smaller pieces that may or may not be useful. You do not have to use pieces that you've written. You don't have to use the things from last time. I imported them here. You do not have to use your make move or available plays if you want to when you do the hard problem. But just try to guide it a little bit. I did write tests also for easy and medium, but not for hard because the hard is just a game that's running in the console. I could write a test, but it would require essentially dependency injection of the console, and I didn't want to do that. So, any questions about this one?
Are these prompts available anywhere online?
Oh yeah. So this is in a GitHub repository. I will post a link afterwards.
Okay, I'll get a catch up.
Yeah, no worries. Some of the other things that we did before, we spent the first couple months doing something regarding like tree traversal. It was actually kind of sprung out of a problem that we had here where we needed to take a tabular data and actually generate a tree from it. So I spent the first couple months doing that. Then the next few months doing a Sudoku solver generator. And that kind of ended badly because I didn't actually realize how difficult it was to create a Sudoku generator. It is not easy. This one's a little easier, but part of my, again, I'm doing this selfishly. These are all problems for me. But part of the reason why I wanted to do tic-tac-toe is I like talking about functional programming. And in functional programming, you're not supposed to mutate stuff. So far, what I've demonstrated, I haven't mutated anything. But when you're forced to not mutate stuff, it's not exactly clear sometimes how to do something stateful, how to manage like a game state. And so I wanted to be able to show at least a simple demonstration of how would you do a game that manages states, state being whose turn is it, what's the state of the board and things like that, without actually mutating anything. So you guys don't have to do it that way, but that's what the solution I'll present in a couple of months will look like. Cool. Any other questions about this? Sweet. All right, so we'll jump into Bun.js. Have you guys heard of Bun?
I looked it up yesterday after I saw you guys talking about it on Slack, and it's pretty cool. It's
Okay.
kind of interesting.
Did you try it out?
I did like a little hello world with it.
You did? Okay, so you probably got pretty good nice. Okay. I have installed it. That's all I've done so far. We're going to take a look at it together. For those of you who don't know what it is, I'll give you a little bit of a history of it because it's insane. It really is insane. So they say Bun is a fast all-in-one JavaScript runtime. Bundle, transpile, install, and run JavaScript and TypeScript projects all in Bun. So you guys familiar with what Node is? Node is a JavaScript runtime that's basically, for quite a while, was the only one that you would use for running server-side JavaScript, or just JavaScript on any machine that you want to do. Node came with a package manager called npm. That's okay, it's gotten better, but a lot of people created other versions like Yarn, PNPM, a bunch of other ones as well, to try and do a better job of it. Node, just as a JavaScript runtime, if you want to do things like compiling of TypeScript or JSX, you need compilers to do that. You need and Node has also itself been catching up to web standards. It's been behind. It just implemented Fetch API, which has been a browser standard for a very long time. And I don't even think it's an official build yet. I think it's still in a beta. It's a Fetch API.
When did it start there? Fetch? When did it start using it?
When did Node implement it? Just recently, like a couple months ago.
Oh,
They
wow.
finally actually implemented it.
Okay.
Yeah, and browsers have had it for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So Node's kind of behind the curve on things. And so the guy who actually made Node said, I'm going to make everything better. I regret my decisions. I'm going to make Dino. I think his name is something Dahl. Yeah. Figure it out. Creator of Dino. Ryan Dahl. Okay. So Ryan Dahl's like, I'm gonna pay for my sins. I'm gonna create Dino. And he said this like 5 years ago, something like that. He still hasn't done it. Dino is not stable. And if you can see this chart, it's worse than Node. Truthfully, it's supposed to solve a different problem. So it's not exactly supposed to be a Node replacement. It's meant to solve the problem of running on the edge, running applications that are supposed to just be performant and not heavy computes. Like with Node, you could conceivably write something that does a lot of mathematical operations and does matrix manipulation. You could do image processing and stuff like that. Dino's not meant to do that. It's meant to be web APIs and things that just are meant to be fast and run on the edge. Dino raised a ton of money. I think something like $25 million. They're still not stable. Okay. So that's the history. Node and Dino both run on the same JavaScript runtime that powers Chrome and all Chromium browsers, Edge and all that, called V8. So V8 is a pretty well standardized engine, and it's fairly optimized. It's kind of the standard out there. But there are alternatives, in particular WebKit. The WebKit one runs its own And so this guy, what's his name again?
So,
Right. Oh,
Randall. Okay, so this other guy, Jared Sumner, decided to write Bun. One guy decided, I'm going to redo the whole thing, and wrote it in a language called Zig. If you don't know about Zig, Zig's also an amazing story. It's one guy named what's his name? Andrew, creator of Zig. Andrew Kelly. Andrew Kelly was this relatively young guy. He hasn't had any experience doing compiler design. He's like, I'm just going to make a C competitor. And he has done such a good job with creating this language that it is better at compiling C than C is. So you could swap C's compiler, like CLang or GCC, with Zig, and it would do a better job. It optimizes to better code. So, and you can use C code in Zig. So you can use Zig code, but you can also use C code, and it does a better job of compiling. So another amazing project by a single guy who just like, I'm just going to do this thing.
well, is he compiling it to like more contemporary standards in the Middle East where the know is better now? Is it sort of a fair comparison to say compiles better? It is newer.
Yeah, I suppose that is a fair point. Whenever you have the opportunity to do a rewrite, to start from scratch, you have the opportunity to leave some baggage behind. Right? So it could be that there are certain edge cases of C that they had to support for backwards compatibility that it was just like, I'm just not going to implement that thing. And it could be that case. But in particular, C is built on something called the LLVM, which is what's called a compiler backend. And just like we have front end, back end in the web world, the front end for compilers tends to read and parse the language and convert it into some middle thing called an AST, abstract syntax tree. And then you can actually convert that into something called LLVM syntax, IR, which is called intermediate representation. And LLVM does more optimizations to convert it into things like WebAssembly or some assembly languages for your architecture, x86 or whatever it be. Because LLVM compiles to WebAssembly is actually really awesome. That's how Rust compiles to WebAssembly. Rust is also built on LLVM. So if you can have something that uses LLVM, you get the benefit of supporting all these platforms for free. Zig was built on LLVM, and then he said, that's too slow, I'm going to build my own backend. And so that's part of the reason also why he has even better than LLVM performance, because he built his own backend too. So this is just like a history of these incredible people who just like had so much initiative that they just went and solved these problems. And then this guy created Bun using Zig. It is, I will say, caveat, it's not production ready. It is in beta. Not all of the Node, what's it called? Like Node APIs are implemented yet, but more than Deno. So it's done more of the implementation than Deno has yet. But it is supposedly really fast. And again, this is optimized for running things on the edge, basically being able to compile deploy something into places that are closer to where your users are going to be, and using tiny little containers that can run quickly. But not only that, it has its own package manager, so no more NPM. It has its own compiler, so you do not need a compiler to run TypeScript or JSX. It has its own bundler. It has its own task runner. It has its own test runner. And it has its own built-in server. And it implements Node Stack. And the Deno stack. So it's a lot. When this guy announced it, it kind of took everybody by surprise. It's like, what? This guy just like built this thing. And what impresses me so much is just this difference between the story of Deno and this. Deno had all this hype around it. It was like, it's going to be the Node killer. We're gonna fix all the problems with Node. And he said that like 5 years ago, and they're still not done. And they raised like millions of dollars to support it. And this guy's just like, here guys, I built this thing. Check it out. It's just phenomenal. So we're a lot of people like check into it to see if it lives up to the hype, of course. Numbers, of course, don't always convert to performance. And again, Bun is not going to be performant in terms of huge computations, matrix manipulation, stuff like that. It's meant for HTTP requests, things like that. Oh, also has this built-in SQL server and its own foreign function interface, so you can actually talk to other languages as well. So, what else? Oh yeah, I mentioned that Dino and Node run on. Technically Dino is at version 1.23, so it's supposed to be actually usable for production. Typically, when someone says version 1, that means you can start using it. Bun is at 0.1, so they're not recommending that you start using it right now. Bun does not use V8. Bun uses the WebKit. And the reason why is it's notoriously more difficult to play with, but it leads to some better optimizations in runtime. So that's how we can get it to be faster as well. So I've already installed it on my computer. I thought what we could do actually is I have the July problems here. And we can see if we can actually run it in Bun instead of Node. I've not tried this, so let's see if it fails miserably or not. So let's try running winner of this one, which is supposed to be a tie game. And we'll just console on that. Okay. So the way we would run this node, of course, is to say node and then the path of it. And what else?
Is it winner or winner of?
Oh, whoops. Winner. There is a reason why these path names are so long. I just like to try and I'm hoping this goes beyond 2022. So I started with year and I wanted it to be ordered by date. So that's all right, so it ran in Node. Let's see if we could do the syn command. So I'm not getting autocomplete, which I'm okay with. Oops. Am I okay? Okay, so it ran. I don't know if you noticed, but that seemed faster. And actually, it's really funny because there's this article. Truthfully, I tried to do a little bit of research first to see what are some things that we could do to play around with this. And they have this example thing, and then they have their documentation, which is this really large GitHub README, which most of it is actually about how to configure Bun for deployment. I did look at this blog post, which actually was on Hacker News a few days ago. And it was also edited by the guy who built it. So take out the grain of salt, I suppose. But his feeling at the very end of this was just like, it feels fast. So again, this is new and hasn't been perhaps vigorously tested in all sorts of situations. We could try timing it. Oops. No July.
I'd say that probably felt faster.
It felt faster. Of course, that was a tiny one. We could try and make it computationally. Again, it's not supposed to be good at computationally expensive things, but we could try and make it faster. But let's try actually installing a npm package. So what I was thinking of doing actually is maybe one thing that we want to do in when we solve August's problems is add a little bit of color to the console. So there is an npm package called colors. I will say also though that you can install npm packages. Not all of them work in Bun. And the reason why is some npm packages depend on the Node API, right? And not all the Node API is. So in particular, Express does not work. And anything that relies on Express, Next.js, things like that, also does not work. You can, of course, do React. In fact, one of the things that they talk about right here is server-side rendering of React. What was I going to say about that? I don't know. Oh, the other thing is, ironically, there's already a framework that runs on Bun. So a fast minimalist web server for the Bun JavaScript runtime. So somehow, not only is there already Bun, but it also has a framework alternative to Express and stuff. Written
There
for it.
was another library where I was taking a look at. It's called Bun Rest. or something like that.
Bun rest.
Yeah, and it claims to do the same sort of stuff that Express is.
Okay, interesting. I saw this one in Hacker News. I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, I read a Medium article like that.
Wow. And this Jared is not mentioned as a contributor, so this is not written by Jared. Somehow people are already building stuff on Bun. I guess people are just trying to get out there and sell library, right?
Yeah.
For the thing. So, all right, let's try installing colors and see what works.
I used their Bun's create React app thing.
Oh,
And,
cool.
yeah, it definitely works. It's built right in, and it gives you basically equivalent to what Node's create React app gives you.
Wow.
So
Okay.
definitely works.
Maybe we'll get that a try after this. All right, what we're gonna do? We're gonna try install Bun install, not npm install. Bun install colors.
Can you do Bun I?
I don't know. Okay.
I also read on Jared's personal site that he's a high school dropout. That's
Okay.
what he said.
Wow. Okay, so far this is not very fast. I would be interested in seeing how long this takes. Wow, it looks like it's installing a ton of stuff. It must be like installing all the stuff it needs. Because I haven't done a Bun install at all.
Mm.
So it might be like I need a whole bunch of other packages. 75 packages installed. I sure hope not all of those were colors dependencies.
Can you try just uninstalling the colors and then reinstalling? See if
Sure, let me try it. How do we do that? Remove? Is that how we do it in Node? Yeah, okay, removed. That was quick. We'll try high.
Oh, man.
So a little bit quicker. I don't know if that was because that was colors dependencies themselves or something else. Let's try maybe installing something else.
It might also have like colors itself cache now that you installed it once.
True. Oh, that's true.
I don't know if it's that smart yet.
That is true. But color has 0 dependencies. So apparently it needed other things. Wow. 19 million weekly downloads. I don't think there's enough developers to be doing that every day. Okay, so let's try another package. Sure. What's a big here? Actually, we'll try installing Bow. I presume it's an npm package. Bun add. Is that just an alias for install? Oh wait. Bun add. It's very snappy. Okay. Let's see if colors works in here. So we'll do. We'll take our board. Actually, we'll just take our starting board. steal it from here. And we'll console that one. Let's log that counts in August here. Console. I think I can do your colors again. I have to require it. Am I using require or that always trips me up, to be honest. No, I'm using this import colors equals colors from and then we have slightly less than the two-way, which doesn't extend. Oh, okay. So this is one library that apparently extends the string prototype. It's kind of surprising. I have not seen very many libraries that extend prototypes. We'll just make it green. That's what they say there. I think that's probably a bad example though, because the text is already green. Okay, so let's give that a try. We'll say fun 20. It's just slightly annoying actually that they don't have autocomplete here. But it's okay. They're brand new. And I do this 2022 08 August dot JS. I had an error the last time I ran this. Not gonna lie. We'll try it again. Importing binding name transport does not count. Okay, that's all I thought. I think it was already green too. Just trying to get it red. Okay, so colors works. So far, Bun seems like a pretty good drop-in replacement for Node. I've not found things that it can't do. Let's try something else. Let's try your Quick React app that Josh is mentioning. Do you remember how that's done?
Yeah, I can just tell you.
Sure.
So you just say fun.
I'm gonna go into our aux directory. Fun,
Fun, create, React.
React, the spaces.
Yeah, with spaces.
Okay.
One more space. And then the name of the directory you want to put in.
Okay, we'll call it Bun demo. Okay, so we'll see into Bun demo, and then we'll do Bun dev. This is. We can go to localhost 3000.
Oh,
Okay, maybe we're missing an npm install, perhaps. Could be. Oh, sorry. Bun install. Okay, do like that. Let's see here saying node modules fun. I have a feeling this is something to do with how I've set up this directory with modules. Let's try going to a different directory. Let's close out of that one. We'll do big round here. And then we'll do fun, create, react. Demo. CD. Let's take a look at the files of that output. Get your JSX. This is a version of package lock or NPM lock or whatever. Yarn lock. Okay, we'll do fun def. There we go.
There you go.
We're back to React. Okay, cool. So we can. It's been a while since I played with React, but should be able to. Again, it runs JSX natively. It's not compiling it. Truly, I don't know how it works. It must be interpreting it instead of compiling it. There's no build step. So if we were to add, can you recursively call React things? I don't even know. Let's find out. It's probably going to be a terrible idea. It's like, I do not want to do that. I bet you it's trying. Yeah, it's okay. Let's not do that. Recursion is not a good idea when you don't have a base case. It's 2. Kill that one. I think I'm burning my CPU with that recursion here. So let's try that here. Okay, so let's see. Make a very quick edit and do. How do I do that? It's got a hot reloading. Hot reload's not really fast right now. It may just be. I'm not sure. So TypeScript works out of the box too. So if I were to replace this with a TSX, and then, whoa, doesn't like that anymore. React refers to a rule of Google using. Didn't have that problem with JSX. Let's just say cons I to here. That's not really TypeScript. How do we want to make this TypeScript? We can make it a string. How do we do that? Like that. And then we'll just say in here. Interesting. It's not even reloading the previous stuff. Okay, there we go. There. Again. Okay, well, it looks like hot reload isn't great. Not sure why.
I thought it was interesting how Bun has a like a binary format for node modules instead of storing it all in one big directory full of stuff. See right there towards the bottom.
This one?
Yeah, it uses a
so I must be that node modules here is from. I don't know, why do we have a node modules folder then? Wow.
and apparently that makes things way faster to just store it in a binary like that instead of iterating over a big directory.
Yeah. you know, there's all those jokes about how dense things are. Like you got the sun, you got like a neutron star or a proton star, whatever. What is it? New something star. Those really dense things and black holes, and they got node modules. It's like denser than all of them. Cool. We could kind of play around with this a little bit more. So far, what I've noticed is it does what it says it does. It's running JavaScript. It's running, it's running JSX and TypeScript and interpreting it correctly. Install seemed to be fine. We were able to use an npm package colors or just rendering React. But there's clearly some bugs. We still have this hot reload is really not working. Oops. And honestly, the first load of page is also not doing so well either. I wonder why that's the case. Initial connection.
I had a better experience than this on Linux.
Okay. Yeah, maybe something with my setup, perhaps. I don't know.
But for me, I didn't know that hot reloading would be enabled by default because it, like when I would make changes, it wasn't hot reloading, like auto refreshing the page or anything. But when I would refresh the page, it would update with the changes right away. So.
Oh, okay. So maybe I'm expecting it to hot reload. It's not really supposed to.
I'm not sure if it is supposed to or not by default.
Okay. Very cool. There's a bunch of other things. Let's try, instead of this is in dev mode. So let's try exiting out of dev mode, and there's a bun serve. Script not found serve. What was it? I'm sure it was serve. Let's try this one. We'll try the built-in server. Run HTTPS. JS. So we'll just do HTTP JS. Put that guy in there. We're gonna have 43,000. That's fine. Save that. I'll do run HTTP.js. I wonder if that's the same as just saying bun HTTP.js. Is that done? Hard to tell. Okay, it is done. Didn't really tell us it was done. Let's try just running bun. I think it's space. My guess it's the same. Yeah, it's the same. So just bring that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's something else going on with my network because I think this is still something taking a long time even for something like this. My computer's also been really wacky lately, so could be something on my end. Cool. What other things did you experience when you played around with this?
I've only looked at it a little bit. Like we're pretty much synced now, I think.
Okay, I've caught up.
But I was looking at what it takes to actually, like, if you wanted to contribute to this and making it in order to build, it requires 22 gigabytes of RAM. So
okay, that's impressive.
I don't have that much yet. So
Right. This computer is technically at 32, but it's still really slow. I think I one time opened up my task manager and found that 78% of my CPU was being used for our company's like antivirus software, Bitwarden. So that's kind of fun. I think it's like CPU bound, not RAM bound.
I was really interested in in Bun when I saw it mentioned yesterday.
Mhm.
I think it's a pretty awesome opportunity for kind of free software developers to go in and make, like you said, Express doesn't work on Bun. It's an opportunity for somebody to make Express for Bun.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. And all of the other libraries that don't work, they
It's
can have the Node, whatever the Node library is, they can have it faster on Bun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, you can race to try and be the library for something. It's this neat.
With Zig, I heard about Zig a few years ago, but I didn't realize that. I thought it was like some guy's project. And it's like, oh, good job, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't realize people were actually making things with it, and I'm sure it's probably come a long way since I looked at it. But it's projects like this that I think will make Zig put it on the map.
For sure. I think this is probably the biggest thing I've seen written in Zig so far. It's good news for Zig. It's good news for the Node community. Some good competition, I suppose. I subscribe to a not Gmail. For someone who is paid to type, I really don't type very well. Tenure, this one. Okay. So it's the tech newsletter that I'm subscribed to. Was it yesterday's one we talked about? Yes. Ryan Dahl promised that 3 months from now, you'll be able to easily import NPM packages into Dino, and their goal to make Dino the fastest JavaScript runtime. So Dino's got a little bit of pressure now. As you can see, they still don't have the ability to install NPM packages in Dino, which Bun can already do. So that's a good thing. I'm really excited to see where this goes. There's a lot of hype about it. I'll probably play around with this myself at this point to see what are some other things you could do with it. My experience hasn't been amazing when it comes to that React stuff, but it may just be my computer slowing down to a crawl.
We use React at where I work, and Celeste, and I was trying to I was going to see if I could just run all our React with with Bun, but it wasn't Bun's fault. I'm not a Docker pro, so I'll probably give it a try again and see what happens.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I mentioned this to the guy who does our deployment of stuff, and he was like, "Oh, that sounds cool. Can we replace all of our Node stuff with this?" Maybe. Again, it's not supposed to be production usage, but it'd be kind of cool to play around and see if it makes things fast. So, oh yeah, I like this. I like the little sales pitch they have here. Node, if you want to use an N file, you actually have to install a package called, I forgot what it's called, but it allows you to use an environment variables in the special, the DOT-ENV. You don't need to do that, but it already looks at your environment. It's got a transpiler, supports paths, JSX input source, and more TS config. It has its own I/O, so you can use the Node file system stuff, but it's got its own as well. When this colors one is using Node 1 under the hood, so when we try that colors thing, that's using Nodes, but you can use Buns instead. Oh, that's the one. Node API, Bun and Buns, mostly Node API, many Node.js native objects. So you got foreign function interface, and then Node.fs and Node path, Bun native supports Linux and Node.js core modules. Yeah, very cool. We'll keep an eye out for this and check it out more. I'm gonna do a little sales pitch. I'm thinking of starting a second meetup. I really enjoy talking about and learning about programming languages and different other programming languages. JavaScript's cool, but I also enjoy learning as many languages as I can. And so I'm thinking of starting one where we just talk about other programming languages and things like designing a programming language, writing a compiler and interpreter, things like that. So that's something that you guys would be interested in. If you are, probably like first Tuesday of the month. I'm thinking, because there's no scheduled events happening yet at that time. We'll see. Not set in stone yet, but it's a lot of fun to talk about. And I'm always like in this meeting talking about different things about programming languages. So maybe I'll move that discussion somewhere else so they hear. Cool. Anything else you guys want to talk about or look into over here?
Looks pretty cool.
Like I said, I've been getting kind of super interested in Bun like last night and today because like I said, I write React at work, so I'm gonna now I might have to learn Snake so I can contribute to.
Wow. Do you enjoy doing open source contributions?
Yeah.
Truthfully, I've never actually done it.
Oh, really?
So it's nice to do that at some point too.
I'm big into free software.
Sweet. I think we'll wrap it up for the official meeting tonight. Thanks everyone for coming, and I won't see you next month. Maybe someone will see you next month. So we'll wrap it up now.